In the world of anesthesia, there's a question that's stirring up a whole lot of debate. Are we watching a major shift happen? You know, a real changing of the guard? It's a question that really gets to the core of what it means to be an anesthesia provider and what the future of the OR is even going to look like.
So let's just put it out there, plain and simple. Will anesthesiologist assistants, we call them AAs, end up replacing certified registered nurse anesthetists, or CRNAs? To really get to the bottom of this, we've got to look past the professional politics and, you guessed it, follow the market forces.
Look, this topic can get heated, and it can get political really fast. But for this explainer, we're going to try and set all of that aside. We're going to look at this thing purely through the lens of business and market forces. What are the decisions being made that are actually changing the game in our hospitals?
Okay, so let's just cut right to the chase, right? Is a complete nationwide replacement going to happen? The short answer is no. It's really unlikely. That's not actually the game being played here. The real story is about something way more nuanced. It's about strategic competition and how AGs are becoming this perfect puzzle piece for a very specific way of practicing anesthesia.
And to really get why this isn't some simple one-for-one replacement, you have to understand that these two professions are built differently, right from the very beginning. Even though they're working in the same field, they are on two fundamentally different paths.
This chart right here, it basically lays out the entire issue. First, let's talk practice models. CRNAs can and do practice autonomously in many states. AAs, on the other hand, must be supervised by a physician. That single difference, autonomy, changes everything. It all goes back to their training, a nursing model for CRNAs, a medical model for AAs, and all of this has a huge impact on where you can work. CRNAs are good to go nationwide, AAs are not.
So let's zoom in on the CRNA for a second. They are Advanced Practice Registered Nurses, APRNs. What that really means is they have graduate-level training that qualifies them to make independent clinical judgments. That's the bedrock of their autonomy.
Now let's look at the anesthesiologist assistant. The key word here, the one that tells you almost everything you need to know, is dependent. By design, by law, an AA has to work under the direction of a physician anesthesiologist. Their role was literally created to fit perfectly inside a physician-led team.
And this difference in state recognition, it has massive implications for your career. I mean, think about it. CRNAs have incredible flexibility. They can pack up and work anywhere. AAs, however, are concentrated in very specific regions and hospital systems where their job is legally recognized. That really limits their portability.
Okay, so this brings us to the big why. It's the business side of things. If CRNAs have all this flexibility and they're recognized everywhere, why would an anesthesia group ever choose to hire an AA instead? Well, the answer is all about strategy and the specific kind of team they want to build.
And let me be clear, this isn't about one professional being better than the other one. Not at all. It's about which professional is the perfect fit for a group's particular business model. So let's break down the real motivations here.
When you boil it down, it's a very calculated business decision. Hiring an AA, by its very nature, reinforces that physician-led team model. It basically hardwires it right into the staffing plan. It also helps fill gaps, especially when CRNAs are looking for more autonomous roles than a particular group might offer. And yeah, of course, cost is always going to be a factor in the background. But really, that first point is the main driver. It's all about the anesthesia care team model, or ACT model. This model is built from the ground up around a physician anesthesiologist leading the team. And since AAs are legally required to work this way, they are a seamless, perfect fit for any organization that's fully committed to that structure.
So, when you put all these pieces together, the different practice models, the state laws, the business strategies, the picture becomes really clear. This isn't a story about replacement. It's a story about coexistence.
So if there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this. A complete replacement is just not likely because of these fundamental differences in autonomy, scope of practice, and state recognition. These factors create sort of separate parallel lanes for each profession. One can't just step in and replace the other because they aren't designed to do the exact same job in every single system.
So what does the future hold? Where is all of this headed? Well, this whole landscape is anything but static. In fact, we can already see some really clear trends that are shaping the future for both of these professions.
First things first, the entire field is booming. We have an aging population, which means more surgeries, and that rising demand for anesthesia is creating strong job markets for everybody. A rising tide, as they say, lifts all boats.
And in this case, it's lifting both the CRNA and the AA boats. But here's where it gets really interesting. Instead of just competing for the exact same jobs, the market is actually pushing them towards specializing more. We're seeing two distinct futures emerge, carving out different niches where each profession is really set up to thrive.
For CRNAs, their future is all about leaning into that versatility and autonomy. They're going to continue to dominate in independent practice, especially out in rural and underserved areas where they're so vital. Their skills will also be super valuable in specialized areas like pain management, and of course in leadership roles where that full practice authority is a massive asset.
And for AAs, well, their path is just as clear. They are going to solidify their role as absolutely essential members of large physician-led teams. You're going to see them become even more integrated into big city hospitals, academic medical centers, and those really complex surgical environments where the anesthesia care team model is just the standard of care.
So, what we're really seeing is a future of specialization, not replacement. And that leaves us with a much bigger, more important question. As these two parallel paths keep developing, how are their distinct roles going to shape the efficiency, the cost, and the overall future of patient care in this country? Now that is the key issue we all need to be watching.